Are you a beginner spinner or think about learning how to turn fiber into yarn? In this video I will share my step-by-step approach of learning how to spin. Hi, my name is Annika. I am a natural yarn dyer as well as an avid knitter and a lover of all things fiber arts. I recently started teaching myself how to spin and I want to share my best tips and tricks of what I've learned so far with you. Let's get started. The first question that comes to mind is whether you should start to learn how to spin either on a spinning wheel or with a drop spindle. I don't think that one has an advantage over the other. You can choose whatever you prefer. Personally, I learned how to spin with a drop spindle a couple of years ago. I participated in a course where the instructor taught us how to spin on a drop spindle, and we were also able to try out a couple of her spinning wheels. The main advantage of a drop spindle is of course that it is a lot more affordable compared to a wheel. You can purchase a wooden drop spindle for around $10 or €10, whereas a wheel is a little bit more of an investment. I personally wouldn't say that it is easier to spin with a drop spindle. In fact, I found it a bit harder, but I think this is totally a personal preference. So if you are unsure whether you will enjoy spinning or not, it can make sense to start with a drop spindle due to the lesser cost. If you want to learn to spin with a wheel, I would highly recommend that you do some research first. For example, you could do a course where you could try out different types of wheels and see what you like. There's also the option of online stores that rent out their spinning wheels, so you pay a monthly fee, and if you like the wheel you can keep it and pay the rest of the purchase price, and if you don't like it you can give it back. This is what I did with my wheel and this worked out really great. I purchased my wheel from a German online store called Das Wölffchen, which I'm going to link for you in the description box. I do think that they ship within Europe, but I'm confident that there are similar stores, online stores in the US that you could rent a wheel from as well. Of course, there's also the option of buying second-hand. I've heard the advice a couple of times that if you are a complete spinning beginner and don't really know what to look for in a wheel, that you should not purchase a wheel secondhand because you would risk that you would get a wheel that doesn't work properly. However, I also know of several people that purchased secondhand spinning wheels and they are completely happy with their purchase. So I think you should decide for yourself whether a secondhand wheel would be an option for you. By the way, the wheel that I own is the Ashford Joy 2 with a double treadle. I was able to try out this wheel in the course that I did where I learned how to use a drop spindle, and then I rented it from Das Wölffchen, like I mentioned, and shortly afterwards I decided to purchase it. For me it is a wonderful wheel, I really like it. It is also very lightweight and portable, it doesn't take up a lot of space and it works really great. Now the Ashford wheels are a little bit more expensive, but there are other spinning wheel brands that are a lot more affordable and that also have great reviews. Like I said, you should do some research beforehand and see what you like best. And if you already have a spinning wheel, what kind of wheel do you have? Please leave a comment and let me know. So let's assume you have a spinning wheel now. So what do you do next? I recommend that you first get to know your spinning wheel and all of its parts. It usually comes with an instruction manual that you can have a look at, but there are also different reviews on YouTube about different types of wheels. I'm going to link a couple of those for you in the description box. If you are familiar with the different parts of your wheel now, the first thing that you could learn is how to treadle in a continuous motion. You should learn how to treadle both clockwise and also counterclockwise, and I also recommend that you learn how to stop and start treadling again, so that you are quite familiar with the treadling process without attaching any fiber yet. Now the next step would be attaching some fiber and learning how to turn this fiber into yarn. But please don't overcomplicate this step and don't expect your first attempt to be perfect by any means. This is not the goal here. We all have to start somewhere. Your first yarn is going to be so far from perfect. It's going to contain very thin and very thick parts probably, and that is completely fine. Getting started spinning your fiber works best when you attach a leader to your bobbin first. So this is some kind of twine. I usually use cotton twine or jute twine like the ones that you can see here, and then you can attach the fiber to it. I'm going to link a wonderful video for you that shows you exactly how to do it. And then you start treadling continuously and slowly drafting the fiber, which means thinning it out and letting the twist go in. Now you should always let the twist go in the same direction, so treadling in the same direction, and you should choose beforehand if you want to do it clockwise or counterclockwise. If you are looking for some fiber, you will soon realize that there are so many beautiful fibers out there, both commercial and hand-dyed. But if you are a beginner, I highly recommend that you start with a fiber type that is suited for beginners. For example, this is my very first skein of yarn. You can see it consists of very thick and very thin parts, and I think it is very over twisted in some parts and highly under twisted in others, but that's totally fine. This is a 100% Corriedale wool, which is one of the fibers that are recommended for beginners. Another example would be blue-faced Leicester. What I also did in the very beginning is that I purchased a kit of, I think, 6 different fibers that are suited for beginners. Those fibers are all undyed and they consist of different breeds, and that way I could work my way through them fiber by fiber and see what I personally liked best and what was easier to work with and which fibers I found a bit more challenging. The next thing that you should do if you have successfully spun your first fiber into a single skein of yarn is that you should learn how to ply it. I recommend that you start with a 2-ply because it is the easiest method. To do so, you could split your fiber in half at the beginning and then spin one half on one bobbin and the other half on the other bobbin, and then you could ply them together on a third bobbin. And this is one of the examples of this fiber starter kit that I just talked about and that I've spun into a 2-ply. Now, my spinning wheel comes with an inbuilt lazy cage where you could put the bobbins onto and then spin it onto the third bobbin. If your spinning wheel doesn't have an option like this, you could either build a lazy cage yourself or purchase one. Another important thing about plying is the fact that if you have spun your singles, let's say clockwise, you have to ply them in the different directions. So you would then ply them counterclockwise. This is always very important to keep in mind. Now, once your yarn is plied, the last step is finishing it. Apparently there are a number of different finishing techniques, but I have only done one method so far. I'm going to link a video by Jillian Eve for you, who is a very experienced spinner and made a great video about finishing a yarn. So what I usually do is that once the yarn is plied, I let it sit on the bobbin for about 24 hours. Then I put it into a lukewarm water bath and let it sit there for at least 30 minutes. But timing is not really crucial here. It can stay in there for up to a couple of hours. Afterwards, I take it out and then I thwack it, which basically means smashing it really hard onto any kind of hard surface. It could be a chair, it could be a bathtub, whatever. Jill and Eve explains it in her tutorial. And after you have thwacked the yarn, this is supposed to set the twist. You can hang it up to dry, and once it's dry, it's done and ready to be processed further. There is one particular book that I want to recommend to you if you want to learn how to spin, ply, prepare fiber, and whatever else comes to mind related to spinning. It is called Yarnitecture, and it is written by Gillian Moreno. It even comes with a couple of knitting patterns that were specifically designed for hand-spun fiber. I think this is an awesome resource and I can highly recommend it. Now, if you are comfortable spinning singles and plying them together as a two-ply, the next thing you could learn about is how to do a ply bracelet. I found this tip very helpful, and I'm going to link a video from Rehash Fibers for you that shows you how to do it. The ply bracelet comes in hand when you have two bobbins with singles that you ply together, and one bobbin runs out of yarn faster than the other. So what you can then do is create the ply bracelet, which basically means that you wrap the rest of the singles from the one bobbin onto your hand in a specific motion, and then you can ply the fiber together, or the single together with itself, and don't lose this leftover yarn, so to speak. The next aspect that I learned was how to do a 3-ply. Now, in the beginning, I thought that doing a 3-ply meant that you needed 4 bobbins, so one for each single, and then the 4th bobbin to ply the yarn onto. But this is actually not the case. You can do a method called chain plying, which creates a 3-ply yarn like this one. This is a German merino fiber that I've spun into singles and then did the 3-ply. There is an awesome video by Textile Indie that shows you how to do the 3-ply method, and I'm also going to link this for you. As far as I know, 3-ply creates a denser yarn, so this would be specifically suited for something that you want to be very sturdy, like socks, for example. In fact, the project that I'm currently working on is going to be yarn for a pair of sturdy socks. I have purchased this beautiful combed top from Frau Wölffchen, who has an online store, and I think she ships within the EU. But you can also get Frau Wölffchen fiber at the Making Stories online shop, which does ship worldwide. I'm going to link everything for you in the description box in case you're interested. Now, the sock set from Frau Wölffchen comes with 2 of those braids, which are 75 grams each. And you can spin each of the braids separately and knit one of the socks of the pair with each of the braids. So I just started on this yesterday. Let me show you. And what I did here is that I separated this braid, or the other braid, into 4 different parts widthwise. So this means I will have smaller color repeats 4 times throughout the yarn, because I didn't want this fade but more of a striped effect. And what I am then going to do once everything is spun in a single is that I'm going to do the chain ply that I just talked about, and then I'm going to knit myself a pair of hand spun socks. And I'm very, very excited about this project, and I think this fiber is simply beautiful. Especially these moody colors. By the way, this is the colorway Melancholie. It's a German name, but it basically means melancholy in English. And the fiber is 100% south down, which I haven't worked with before, but I think is very, very nice to spin with. In fact, I don't think I was ever able before to spin such a fine and consistent yarn. I'm very happy with it so far. Another very interesting topic to learn about is how different preparations of one of the same braid can result in totally different looking yarns, especially when you are working with a braid that contains several different colors like this one. So this is one of the pages of the Yarnitecture book. I hope you can see that. And it shows you how different preparations of one and the same combed top can result in totally different looking yarns. You could spin the fiber just as it comes and get more of a marl effect, or you could prepare it in the way that you get some stripes, like I am currently doing with my braid here. The possibilities are nearly endless, and this makes spinning so much fun in my opinion. I'm going to link a video by Gillian Eve for you that shows you how to do fractal spinning, which I quite liked. So I would say this is the step that I am currently at, learning how to prepare fiber in different ways in order to create exactly the result that I'm looking for. So here are two examples of yarns that I have spun with the fractal method. The fiber was from John Arbon Textiles from their Appledore line, and the colorways are Quench and Pig Snout. And I really like how they came out. It was a lot of fun to spin them, although I'm still quite new to spinning with a variegated fiber. I think it is just so much fun. So the next step that I'm going to learn about is how to do both a woolen and a worsted spun. If you do woolen spun, you will get an area lighter and more drapey yarn, and if you do worsted spun, you will get a more robust and dense yarn. I think it's very fascinating what you can do with a fiber and how you can turn it into completely different yarns depending on which method you use. So there is still a lot for me to learn when it comes to spinning, but this is exactly why I enjoy it so much. I think spinning is a very creative and meditative craft, and I can highly recommend it if you think about giving it a try. And personally, I also cannot wait to knit with my handspun yarn for the very first time. If you like this video, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!